What's going on, kings and queens? It's your girl, Wisdom's daughter. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hopefully, you guys had a good day. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Listen, we got to get into this Diddy stuff. I know. We were supposed to be talking about baby mamas and baby daddies today, but we're gonna do Battle of the Baby Mamas on tomorrow. We will get into that, but want to talk about this Diddy stuff. Listen, Diddy, I don't think your boy is getting out. All right. I don't think he's getting out. He's looking at an 11-year sentence. And the prosecution they are woke. Okay. They were kind of like a little sleepy during the trial. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they filed a document and baby, they threw everything in that document, everything including the kitchen sink. I mean, they literally took the entire trial, summarized it, everything that they were trying to say that maybe didn't come across, they put it in this document. And if that didn't do the trick, the victim letters. So last time I was live, we talked about the letters that were written on behalf of Diddy. So Diddy done made friends with all the Dominicans, all the Puerto Ricans, all the Mexicans, all right, all the Ecuadorians, and all the Latinos basically up in jail. And they wrote letters to the judge on his behalf, talking about he running a program to teach them how to set goals. So my thing is, Diddy is doing great work in jail, and so he need to stay there so he can continue doing the great work. Because on the outside, not so much. But anyway, before we get into Diddy, can we do this first though? Can we just talk about Nesto just for a hot second? All right, just for a quick second, y'all. Ernest Williams. Oops, what am I doing here? Okay. Ernest Williams has filed his appeal. Okay. Sir does not want to be locked up either. Okay. Nasty Nesto said he want to go home. Did he want to go home? Nesto want to go home. Nesto is not getting no damn pardon, but he tried it. And so this document was filed on today, actually at 10:35 a.m. The motion of Ernest Williams, a defendant in the above style case for suppressing the search of his vehicle, having been duly presented to the court on December 18, 2024 and August 11, 2025, and said motion was denied on September 4th, 2025. It is hereby certified that the decision and order denying defendant Ernest Williams' motion to suppress vehicle search of such importance to this case that immediate review by an appellate court should be had. And this was signed by the Honorable Eric Dunaway. So Judge Dunaway did say that the defense could appeal if they wanted to, and Nesto has decided to appeal. We got Miss Gigi. What's going on, Queen? How are you? And Nubian Queen was first up in the building, said hello, WD Mods and chat. What's going on, Queen? So Nesto has done it. He has put in his appeal. And earlier today, I did a poll. Let me just check on this poll and see how we are looking on this poll. So earlier today, actually, let me just share it with you. Okay, let me get this document out of the way. I'm going to share with you guys the poll that we did earlier today. So we did a poll on Nesto's future as a result of this appeal. See if I can share my screen really quickly and I will show it to you. Here we go. All right. So let me just show y'all this really, really quickly. All right. So basically, I told everybody earlier, cast your vote. Ernest Nasty Nesto Williams has appealed the court's decision to dismiss his motion to suppress vehicle evidence from his Ford F-350 truck in his RICO case because he was driving around the streets of Atlanta with a mountain of evidence in the car that he obtained by fraud. You cannot make this up. So what is your prediction? All right, so 5% of y'all and 112 of y'all voted. 5% of y'all said Sylvia will say, I told you so if Nesto wins his appeal, okay? She's going to be claiming his freedom if he gets his appeal. And 21% of y'all said Nesto will run out of options and won't want to speak to anybody. And 73% of y'all said Nesto will further delay his quote-unquote speedy trial and he's going to lose this appeal. So that's basically what you guys thought. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in there. I thought that was cute. What's going on? Queen K Stable is in the building. Happy Tuesday, my love. So I thought that was funny. If you guys did not vote in the poll, it is on my page. Go to post and you will see it there. But we're going to get into the Diddy foolishness of it all. So let me go ahead and take that off of the screen, and let's jump right into this Diddy stuff. So as I said earlier, for those of you who are just coming in the building, and of course, make sure you guys hit the like button for your girl. The prosecution had some time to think on it. Okay, they had time to gather their thoughts, and what they have done is they have filed a document. It is it's called the government's sentencing memorandum. I'm going to share this. I'm going to share my screen actually so I can show it to you. Let me bring it up. This document basically is their argument as to why Diddy needs to do some time. For real, for real. Like we ain't playing over here. We're not talking about 14 months that he was asking for, because Diddy was over there asking for 14. Y'all, Diddy want to get out so bad. And he realized, you know what? This might be harder than I thought. And so he has decided that he's going to tell the judge, well, look here, judge, just go ahead and give me 14 months. And then I can walk away with time served. How that work? Can we do that? And the judge decided earlier this week that he was not going to render a decision right away. That's what he said. Okay. Because, Diddy over here think that he could dictate to the judge how it's going to be, because he realized he's going to do sometime. And the judge was like, look here, I'm going to think on it. I'm going to think on it a little bit, just a little bit. All right. I'm going to think on it a little bit, and I'll let you know. But if you don't hear from me, then I'll see you on Friday. That is cold. I'm not gonna lie, that is cold-blooded. All right. Even Nesto's like, wow. They done set me the F up. Yeah. So that is Diddy's situation as it stands right now. Okay. He gotta wait. The judge was like, I ain't gonna answer you right away. So anyway, in order to ensure justice for the victims, the prosecution put together this very well-written document. Okay. I'm not going to read all of this, but there are bits and pieces that I do want to bring to your attention and show you. And then we're going to look at the victim impact statements. Okay. So we heard from Diddy supporters last week, and this week we're going to hear from the victims. All right. So they talk about the investigation and all the charges. They summarize the pretrial bail hearings. They summarize the defendant's detention situation and the renewal of his bail, the trial, all that. Okay. Then they go into his relationship with Cassie, his relationship with Jane Doe. I almost thought for a second her name really was Jane. And at this point, we kind of figured out, who she is, but she still wants to remain anonymous. So we're going to keep it like that. All right. The defendant, used his vast resources to perpetrate the offense conduct. They go through the fact that Diddy abused others and engaged in other misconduct. And then they start going straight to the law in regards to the sentencing guidelines. So I was having a back and forth with somebody. I don't know who it was. What's going on, Claire Ashes? How are you, Queen? Leo Lady 251 up in the building. Nubian Queen said, look here, Diddy gonna be sitting there for some time. In a long time. And I don't know if it's going to be a good time. But I was going back and forth with someone on another platform, another social media platform. And Diddy has the 2 charges that did stick. The other 3 charges got thrown out. And so he has 2 prostitute type charges. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe those charges both carry a maximum of 10 years. So if they threw the book at him, Diddy's looking at 20 years. Okay. But the prosecution wants to make sure that he gets some reasonable jail time. I believe that's what it's about. They want to make sure that he don't slide by. And I'm going to tell y'all my thoughts later, but we're going to take a poll because I want to know what you guys think about all of this. So they go through all of these laws, okay, all of this stuff. We're going to skip over a lot of this, but this is all that went through it. Now, I read most of this, and I'm going to tell you something. If I was the judge reading this, because here's the thing, I thought a jury was going to sentence him and determine how much time he was going to get, but I guess that doesn't make sense. So it is the judge. Judge Arun is going to determine in 3 days. All right, y'all. In three days, the judge is going to determine. See, in 3 days, Jesus got up. Okay. 3 days, Jesus rose from the dead. So we're going to see if in 3 days, Diddy is going to rise up out of his jail cell. Okay. We're going to see if Diddy, now he done rose up on this screen, but we're going to see if he going to rise up out of his jail cell on the 3rd day. All right. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in 3 days, he will find out his fate. And if you ask me, he gonna get at least 10 years, but I've been saying 20. I've been saying that they're gonna throw the book at him, because here's the thing. I'll just tell you what I think now after I get a sip of water. Here's the thing. Sound like Nesto. The thing is, Diddy has no longer denied his crimes, right? He's no longer saying I didn't do anything. That's what he said in the beginning. I didn't do anything. And then Cassie was like, nope, yes, you did. And then the video came out and we saw everything. And then he apologized, right? So he can't deny what he did. But he's trying to justify what he did by saying, blame it on the alcohol. The drugs made me do it. I was out of my mind. I was a horrible person. But I have been redeemed, Lord Jesus. I'm following Jesus now. I've been redeemed. Okay. Diddy's trying to say he's been redeemed. And he doesn't want to pay for his crimes. And the thing is, you can be forgiven, but still have to face the consequences of what you did. And so I think that the judge might be looking at it from that aspect. Okay. And Diddy up here probably cursing up a storm. But anyway, what's going on? Jerome Street is up in the building. He says, salute my G. What's going on, King? How you been? Jerome, make sure you are on tomorrow night. We were going to do it tonight, but because the Diddy thing came out, I said, I'll go ahead and cover it and get it out the way. But tomorrow night we doing Battle of the Baby Mamas. We got to talk about this baby mama, baby daddy, foolishness out here. Okay. Cause some of these women got, us queens looking like we crazy, and then you got some men out here that be doing the most. And we're going to have a really great conversation. The lines are going to be open the entire show. So make sure you are here tomorrow night, for that. And we'll be doing that 7 to 7:30. So I just want to let you know, King, but thank you so much for being on the live. So yeah, so I think Diddy is going to face the music, pun intended. I think he's gonna have to do some time, okay? Because Diddy did a lot of stuff. I mean, he hurt a lot of people, allegedly, according to the victims, right? Okay, so let's go through some of this. Like I said, I'm not going through all of this, but there are certain pieces that I want to highlight. So the trial was 7 weeks. There was a lot of evidence that came out. Okay, I don't think the prosecution did a great job, but during the trial, but they did a great job with this letter. Okay, so here's what they said. They basically said that at trial, Diddy disputed that the government made out particular elements of the charged federal offenses. So basically, the defense was saying you didn't prove your case, but he largely conceded his conduct, meaning that he basically admitted to violence, domestic abuse, drug abuse, and distribution and bribery. Okay. The defendant will not be punished for any crimes of which he was acquitted, of course, but punishment for his crimes of conviction must take into account the manner in which he committed them. His crimes of conviction are serious and have warranted sentences over 10 years in multiple cases for defendants who, like Diddy, engaged in violence and put others in fear. So you see what they're doing there? They're like, look, just in case, you think you want to give them a slap on the wrist, there are other cases where defendants in a similar situation got about 10 years. So consistent with those cases and based on all the evidence presented at trial, they're basically maintaining that the court should impose a sentence of no less than 135 months. Okay, now you guys know that I am not a mathematician. I still count with my fingers. Judge me if you want to, but I'm going to get this calculator and I want to figure out, because everyone is saying 11 years, but let's see, 135 divided by 12. Okay, so a little over 11 years, right? That's what they want to give him, 11 years and a quarter. They said that a substantial term of imprisonment is also needed because Diddy is unrepentant. All right. Basically, look here. Like Diddy's not sorry. Diddy ain't sorry. Did he look sorry to y'all? No, Diddy is not sorry. He ain't. Okay. he over here running programs in the jail. What was the program called? Diddy's it wasn't called Diddy's Puffy's flavor camp. I know that. Okay. It was some, I can't think of the name of it now. I have to go back to one of the inmates letters, but anyway, but he was teaching classes, these classes about business, I guess, and teaching people how to, the guys in jail, how to set goals and, you know, how to make something of themselves when they come out. So like I said, he's been redeemed. So he said this is petty. Incredibly, while Diddy conceded his acts of violence and abuse throughout the trial, he now argues that his victims should shoulder the blame. Wow, we blaming victims. The defendant tries to recast decades of abuse as simply the function of mutually toxic relationships. And he did. That was his excuse. You know, I didn't really commit any crimes. We were just in a very toxic relationship. It was violence on both sides. Okay. Sound like our dumbass president. But there is nothing mutual about a relationship where one person holds all the power and the other ends up bloodied and bruised. In connection with the sentencing, Cassie Ventura, who along with multiple escorts was transported across state lines by Diddy for multi-day freak-offs in connection with count 3, of which he was convicted. So then they say that basically, which we know, the freak-offs were degrading, they were disgusting, they left her with infections, illnesses, exhaustion. She became addicted to pharmaceuticals. She still has nightmares about the physical abuse, which lasted over a decade, and left her with permanent scars all over her body. We're going to take a look at some pictures, and I'm going to warn you, they're not easy to look at. Okay. Biggie did. Yep. Listen, let me tell you something. Diddy gonna be in prison and he gonna be haunted by all type of spirits. Yes, because God don't like ugly. And at the end of the day, listen, we can forgive Diddy. You know, we can forgive him. He's not really unrepentant because now he's basically trying to make it seem like he didn't. He's trying to downplay what he did because he just doesn't want to be in jail. You know, Diddy's a diva. Let's just be clear. He is a diva, but he still needs to pay for his crimes. Okay, he still needs to pay for what he did. Diddy knows what he did. So anyway, so then the court heard testimony from Jane, who along with escorts was also transported across state lines for hotel nights, which is the same as the freak-offs. Okay, her testimony detailed how she was manipulated and beaten by Diddy. Okay. Now, we didn't see a video of her getting beaten, but we saw how Diddy get down in the Cassie video. That evidence included a note that Jane wrote to herself about how she felt violated and was tormented by how Diddy had placed and paid for all these harmful men on me and risked my health every single time for 2.5 years. Okay. Because he got a problem getting it up. So he need to go ahead and look at men. Okay. Because that's really what it was about. You know, he wasn't really watching her. He was really watching the dudes. But anyway, defendants who perpetrate violations of the Mann Act involving such violence and fear regularly face significant penalties. So if you guys heard about the Mann Act, this is what it's about. So they're basically saying Diddy shouldn't be an exception, particularly because of his history, which demonstrates years of abuse and violence. Several former employees were abused and exploited by Diddy, including one of the defendants who said that they were SA'd. And these people submitted letters to the court in connection with sentencing. The letters, basically as a whole, asked the court to impose a sentence that reflects the severity of the defendant's conduct and turn to your neighbor and say, and now find another neighbor that wasn't the right neighbor. Anyway, I'm just playing with y'all. But and his history and pattern of violence. And K Stable said, and he ain't crazy about beauty either. You funny. Nubian Queen said, WD, when the feds refused to take his $50 million for bond, along with other things he was willing to offer up, I knew he was facing an uphill battle. Sorry, not sorry. I know that's right. So they basically said, look, given the seriousness and the decades of unchecked violence and the consideration of the relevant factors that weigh heavily in favor of a substantial sentence, as well as the statutory maximum fine. So not only do they want him to get a lengthy sentence, and they're asking for no less than 11 years, and it's 11.25 years, right? No less. He could get up to 20. Such a sentence is consistent with similarly situated defendants who commit Mann Act violations and is warranted here, right? So it's like, look, we can't do anything about the trial. The trial is over. Whatever he got away with, he got away with. But according to the Mann Act, it does say he should get at least this, and feel free to give him more if you want to, because of the psychological, the emotional, and the physical damage that he inflicted, right? So I'm gonna come back to, we already know about his charges. I may not even read that. I want to skip down to these photos. We'll come back to the summing up the trial and all those things. I want to go straight to some of these photos, you guys. Okay. Yeah. Let me move some stuff out of the way. I told you guys that this is going to be a little graphic. Okay. Let's do this. Let me back it up. Let me, oop, not that far. Hold on. Not that far. Let me back it up to this. Okay. So Diddy horrifically abused Cassie Ventura. Is that where I want to start? I'm going to start right here. So Diddy paid for Cassie Ventura's apartments in New York City and Los Angeles, and frequently came over unannounced and just let himself in, often in violent fits of rage. So basically, he was paying for where she lived. So now she's indebted to him because he set her up with this lifestyle that she can't afford herself. And if she don't do what he wants to do, she has no place to go. The defendant, meaning Diddy, kicked down doors in her apartment. Her bathroom door was broken. She says, he has my key, so I'm leaving. I do not feel safe. 3 of my doors are now broken. The defendant, meaning Diddy, also paid for Cassie Ventura's car, her phone, her computers, and regularly took those items away from her when he was angry. Baby, don't you ever let a man have that kind of control over you. Make sure whatever he's giving you, you can afford yourself. Okay, that's nice. You got some men out there that got it like that. They want to buy and pay for everything. They don't even want you to work, God darn it, but you need to have your own money, because buying things for people and doing that is a means of control. This is the same reason why a lot of women like to move their men in, because now you living with me. So you can't have no hoes and beaches over the house because you live with me. And when I get sick of you, I can kick you out because you live with me, right? It's a means of control. All right. So men, y'all need to have your own stuff. MNPD Finance is in the building. How are you, Queen? You have been on my heart and my mind all doggone day. And I said I was gonna call you after this live, which I still am going to, because we ain't spoken in a while. She said, I'm just touching down in my city, but I'm here until my car arrives. All right, Queen. I missed you, darling. I missed you. That's hilarious. New York is knows New York. I know that's right. But anyway, let's keep going. So when Diddy couldn't reach Cassie personally, he would call and text, and he would incessantly, like being a bugaboo, call her friends or members of her family, members of staff, in order to find her. So for example, after Diddy violently assaulted her at the Intercontinental Hotel, that was a video that we saw, and then beat her, he beat on her apartment door with a hammer. And Cassie didn't answer. She refused to answer his calls. You beating on my damn door with a hammer, I ain't answering either. So Diddy put his chief of staff, Christina Coram, KK, up to it. Talk to him. He promised me he won't go back over there if you will just talk to him on the phone for 5 minutes. So now he got her in between. Okay. So then there's the violence. So Diddy horrifically physically abused Cassie throughout their relationship, which he admitted to during the trial. At trial, he also conceded the overwhelming evidence of his violence against Cassie and admitted that he engaged in abuse that was horrible, that Diddy's abuse, his own abuse, that he's saying, I abused Cassie and it was horrible, dehumanizing, and indefensible. These are his words. There was a name in criminal law for the violence we will hear about, and we will see this at trial. It's called domestic violence. It's called assault. We take full responsibility that there was domestic violence in this case. This is what the defense said. Okay. They claim jealousy led to domestic violence in the elevator bank. Okay. That it was about jealousy. What Diddy did to Cassie on this videotape is indefensible, it's horrible, it's dehumanizing, it's violent. Okay, so they agreed to that. It is evidence of domestic violence. Please understand that this video is overwhelming. Is overwhelming evidence of domestic violence. describing June 18, 2024 incident as involving Jane as an incident of domestic violence. We own up to the domestic violence. We own the domestic violence. It happened. Right. So because it happened, he should pay the consequences, even if he's sorry. If he was charged with domestic violence, we wouldn't all be here having a trial because he would have pled guilty because he did that. Why didn't they charge him with domestic violence? Anyway, the domestic violence is the issue. We're going to take the domestic violence. Let's take the domestic violence. Obviously, something happened. The video is very much domestic violence. Indeed, across the testimony of over 30 witnesses, the defendant's conceded abuse was detailed during the trial. So Cassie testified about a incident that happened in January 2009 after a club appearance. Diddy called her a slut or a bitch or something like that after she spoke to a producer at a party, and she drunkenly hit him. After that, Diddy's whole demeanor just switched over. I remember his eyes went black. And then after I punched him and he attacked me, and I was basically like underneath the back seat of the Escalade just trying to cover my face because Diddy was stomping on my face with his foot. Cassie attempted to run, but Roger Bonds, a member of his security team, ran after her and brought her back to the house. The defendant, meaning Diddy, kept Cassie at the London hotel for a week while her injuries healed, despite Cassie wanting to go home to her mother. So then there was an incident in 2011. This was the Prince party. Cassie, a woman who testified at trial under the pseudonym Mia, and Mila Morales each testified about Diddy's assault of Cassie at this party. Cassie did not tell Diddy that she was going to the party because she thought he would tell her she couldn't go. So she's like, I'm going anyway. When Diddy saw her at the party, he chased her and threw her to the ground. He started attacking her, but the whole security team intervened. Undeterred, Diddy came back to Cassie's hotel where he beat her, including throwing luggage at her. Cassie had a swollen eye, a busted lip, and knots on her head. Then in December 2011, Capricorn Clark witnessed another incident during which Diddy viciously and repeatedly beat Cassie. Oh, he kicked her. He kicked Cassie. Well, I mean, they over here like doing business classes in jail. Why didn't somebody beat Diddy's ass by now? I'm just saying. You know, I would have did a Cassie Ventura on Diddy, but I don't condone violence. After the defendant discovered that Cassie had been using, or after Diddy found out that Cassie had been seeing another man who was Kid Cudi, all right, then Diddy made Capricorn Clark bring Cassie to him. So this is how Capricorn Clark gets in the midst of it. When Cassie arrived at Diddy's house in the presence of his personnel, his security team, he began to kick her 100% full force in her legs to begin with. She was facing him to start, and he kicked her in her thigh, in her leg. He kept kicking her. He never used hands. He repeatedly kicked her and just kept each kick. She would crouch more and more into a fetal position. Every time she got kicked, she moved back all the way to the street. She wasn't doing anything. She was crying silently. Okay. And here are the photos. Okay. Here are the photos. Dion Salt Bay said, would that be kidnapping? It's possible. It's very possible. But I'm just like, can we just get some jail time? All right. Diddy, honestly, I would like to see Diddy do 20 years. I would like him to get the max. Okay. Because I think after 20 years, he will be redeemed for real. I think after 20 years, he will probably be too old and too damn tired to do any of that stuff. All right. So much on the outside would have changed. Everything is AI. He won't be able to keep up. And I think that will really be the only deterrent. That's my opinion. And y'all gonna have to let me know when we do this poll how much y'all think. So what's going on, Andre? Andre said this is very insane. 11 years for a failed trial of Sean Combs. No, Andre King, not 11 years for a failed trial. 11 years because those type of crimes, that's typically what the sentence are. Not the crimes that he was acquitted of, but what he still, what the charges that stuck. So this is what the prosecution is saying. I mean, the truth of the matter is the DV victims, their perps typically don't get much time. And although he wasn't convicted of domestic violence, what they're trying to say is that he admitted to it. And this is a pattern. This wasn't a one-off. This wasn't just one relationship. This is the kind of things that he did. So it gets worse. And I know there are a lot of Diddy supporters out there, and that's okay. If you support Diddy, support Wisdom's daughter, make sure you hit that like button, you subscribe to the channel, okay? But the thing is, all they can do is get him on the 2 charges that stuck, but they're trying to paint a full picture, right? They don't believe the jury really had a good opportunity to convict him of those other crimes without a doubt, right? Because it has to be beyond the shadow of a doubt. Anyway, so this is Cassie. She revealed to her mother part of what Diddy was doing to her. She testified that she kept it secret because she felt ashamed, just constantly bruised up by the person that you love. Now, Andre, I imagine that you have to have some woman in your life. You got a mama, all right? Because you ain't get her by yourself. You got a sister. Maybe you have a girlfriend or a wife. Okay, you have a niece. Come on now. And this is not even the worst one. That's just one photo. We're going to get to the rest. August 2013. Deontay, Nash, Mia, and Cassie each testified about an August 13 incident when Diddy showed up at Cassie's apartment unannounced, irate because Cassie had not answered his calls. Diddy grabbed her by her hair, pulled her off the couch, and started hitting her in a rage. Ventura, Cassie, Mia, and Deontay Nash tried to close themselves in Cassie's bedroom to get away from Diddy, but Diddy pushed the door open and continued to attack Cassie by hitting and kicking her. Both Nash and Mia jumped on Diddy's back in an effort to stop him, but he threw them to the ground. Diddy continued to attack Cassie, slamming her head into the corner of a bed frame, causing blood to gush from a gash as pictured below. Look at this, y'all. Come on now. Come on now. All right. Now, Andre, I know you have a heart. Come on now. Look at this right here. Sean Combs earned his money. Yes, he has fetishes. This is not a fetish. This is something altogether different. Okay. A fetish is you like feet. That's the fetish. Okay. You like to smell, some women like to smell men's balls. That's a fetish. Okay. Come, baby, come smell my balls. That's a fetish. This is something altogether different. A fetish is not forcing a woman to have relations with multiple men back to back to back to back. You basically forcing the person you say you love to have a chain gang run on her. You forcing her to have a train run on her. Okay. And maybe at one point she was with it, but at one point she's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm getting diseases. I got sores in my mouth. Come on, Andre. I don't know how old you are, but it don't matter. I mean, if you under 18, you shouldn't be in here. But anyway, Jerome said, I don't understand why the feds gave Diddy a soft pitch when the pow charges would have been 10 years by itself. Plus, the white boy mule is just not fair. Did he get blood on his hands? You know what? There's so many things that went wrong with this, and so many ways that these victims were failed. I mean, we could talk about this, for years about that. But you saying this is a fetish? This was not a fetish. This is mental health. Okay. This is a man that is psychotic. What causes you to be in such a rage that you have to do this? Right? When Diddy finally stopped, he turned to Nash and Mia and said, look what y'all made me do. Look what y'all made me do. Another time, Diddy assaulted Cassie at a party in Las Vegas. He punched and kicked Cassie, who attempted to escape while running into a bathroom. This woman lived her life in fear. I mean, when he was good, he was good. But, can you imagine walking on eggshells around a man because you don't know if he's going to snap at any second? And he done set your life up to the point where you can't even leave because he'll find you. He will find you. Let's keep going. Cassie tried to hide underneath the toilet, but Diddy continued kicking her. He only stopped when D-Rock, his former bodyguard, and James Cruz, Cassie's manager, into the room. So Cassie testified both men teared up after seeing the result. Cassie was left with a black eye, a golf ball sized knot on her head, and a busted lip. Then there was the Jamaica incident. Now, who the hell is fighting in Jamaica? Everything is Ivory in Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's fighting in Jamaica? One love. Listen, you got a problem. If you're fighting in Jamaica, you got a problem. Okay. Jamaica is absolutely beautiful. The whole culture is just very laid back. You know what I mean? Everything is no problem. When you go to Jamaica, everything is no problem. But apparently, Diddy had a problem. So anyway, Cassie and Kerry Morgan, who was Cassie's best friend, testified about violence that occurred on the trip to Jamaica. Well, damn, you can't take Diddy no damn where. Nowhere. Cassie only recalled getting a black eye and hiding from Diddy for several hours under a tractor, but Morgan had a more detailed memory. She testified that while a group of them were on vacation in Jamaica, Cassie left the group to go to the bathroom. Diddy was upset that she was taking so long in the bathroom, so he goes to find her. And then a few minutes later, Morgan hears Cassie screaming and sees Diddy dragging Cassie by her hair down a long hallway. Okay. And Andre, you think that's a fetish? You think that's a fetish? Okay. I am Mrs. Beebe said this is physical and mental abuse. It's emotional abuse. And Jerome said, do you remember that Wesley Snipes haircut? He got that New Jack. He got that New Jack City that says it all for me. I know that's right. The FBI destroyed Diddy's mansions, and Sean Combs is cheap. Is not cheap. You're trying to say he's not cheap? Yeah, and I guess this is the price. This is the price right here. Andre, let me bust your head open, because clearly he beat her to the white meat show. Okay, you ever heard that saying? It's, you see that a lot. You hear that a lot in different black communities. I'm gonna beat you to the white meat show. Well, he beat her to the white meat. Her whole head is broke open. Like, this is crazy. This young lady needed a lot of stitches. Okay. Jerome said Diddy's coming home, but he's got a higher judge he's gonna have to deal with. I know that's right, but I'm still praying that he gets at least them 10 years. I don't know if he's gonna get the 20 like I'm saying, but I think he's gonna get 10 years. So anyway, so he drug her by her hair because she was taking too long in the bathroom. Listen, ladies can't stand up and pee. Okay, we could, but it's kind of messy, and I don't think y'all really want that. All right, maybe she had to take a dump. Okay, who knows? Like, we take a long time in the bathroom. What? Like, what did he think it was? I don't know. But Diddy threw Cassie to the ground. She hit her head on a brick, knocked her out for several seconds. And she had injuries that were visible well after the assault took place. Okay. So she's got on glasses here, but you can clearly see. She's got a knot up here. Okay, something over her eyebrow. She's got makeup on, trying to cover the bruises. Oh, Lord, not the private plane. What else? George Kaplan testified, this is the mule, about violence that he witnessed on the private plane. Now, who is fighting on a private doggone plane? Just like in Jamaica, we can't just all get along. Why are we fighting on a private plane? I mean, you have people in life who struggle for real. They would love to go on vacations to Jamaica and Turks and Caicos and fly on private jets. You would think with all of that, your life would be great. Diddy had anything. He could get anything and everything he wanted. He could afford whatever he wanted. How many of you can say that you could afford anything that you want? How many of you, if you wanted a Bugatti right now, you could write a check? Okay. You can go to the bank and just pull out the cash. Then he could get whatever he wanted. And this is what he did. So y'all need to stop defending this man. Pictures don't lie. She didn't do this to herself. Wisdom, can the Fed still pick up the pow charges and the rugs? Yes, they can. Absolutely, they can. Because remember, this case is being tried right now in New York, but they were all over the place. So definitely. I believe they definitely could, for sure. For sure. They need to come at him for some other charges. The truth of the matter is it was a RICO. How you in a RICO case by yourself? Why did Christina Coram get off? Is it because she spoke? I'm just curious. When I tell you this case is so messed up, everybody is coming down on Diddy like he didn't have a fair trial. These victims didn't get a fair trial because there's so many things that should have happened in this trial that did it. But anyway, so she's knocked out, and then we fighting on a private plane. Okay, so while Diddy's security team and other people watched, Diddy was in the back room with Cassie, stood over her and yelled at her, and then he threw whiskey glasses at her. Not the whiskey glasses. Wait a minute. We can't be throwing the whiskey glasses. What are we going to drink out of? And then Diddy threw glasses at her, and she pleaded to others on the plane, is anybody seeing this? And nobody helped her. Okay. Nobody helped her. Now it's a few men up in here. So I'm going to get graphic. Now imagine a bunch of men grab y'all. You know, one got your left arm, the other one got your right arm, one got your left leg and your right leg. Okay. And they strip you naked from the waist down and climb on your back and y'all can fill in the rest. I mean, wouldn't you want some kind of justice? Or would you want, just because the person is a celebrity, they should be able to get off, right? In March of 2016, Diddy proposed to have a freak off, and Cassie had a movie premiere, and she did not want to do no damn freak offs, especially before the premiere. But she gave in. Diddy and Cassie got Jules Theodore, okay, one of the escorts for the freak off, which took place at the Intercontinental Hotel. So that's why they were at the hotel. They were at the hotel having a freak off. Okay, in the hotel room, Diddy hit Cassie in the face. She attempted to leave, and we saw the rest. Okay. We saw what he did. I can skip over this part. Okay. We all saw the video. We all know what he did. Okay. And then she had a black eye and a swollen lip. Okay. As well as bruising on her body that she covered up with heavy makeup for her movie premiere. And that's probably why she did not want to do no freak off before the premiere, because she knew he was going to lose his, he was going to go, ape on her. Right. She knew that. She knew what he was going to do. Okay. She knew. And she was not trying to go to her premiere looking like that. But, leave it to Diddy. Okay. And then she was raped in 2018. After dinner, she was near the end of their relationship. They went out to dinner. After dinner, Cassie invited Diddy back to her apartment. Why she did that, I don't know. But she chose to do that because she thought it was okay. And that's when Diddy arred her on her living room floor while she cried and said no. Okay. So any other time, Diddy can't get it up. But apparently this time he got excited and that's what he wanted to do. And I'm going to tell you, that was probably more about control than it was about any type of smacks. So she testified that she felt like it was somebody taking something from you. So afterwards, she texted Diddy, I know I look bad to you. I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday. I fell off. But I'm about to get my ish together. This is what Diddy texted Cassie. So after he violated her, I know I look bad to you. I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday. I fell off, but I'm gonna get my stuff together. Well, if you could tell that she wasn't turned on, why would you do that? I'm just saying. And it just goes on and on and on, all like this. Okay. So they talk about all the freak offs that, yes, she was willing to try a freak off, but she knew that she did not want to continue doing it. Okay. She was told to hire escorts, how to set up the rooms, what rugs to take, what to wear, how to perform during the freak offs. Like he directed a movie. She used Craigslist and Backpage in order to find, the scripters and whatnot. Okay. I'm gonna skip through a lot of this. She often took opiates after the freak offs to come down from other drugs. She eventually developed an opioid addiction. All right. The freak offs sometimes lasted multiple days. They became frequent occurrences, taking place on a weekly basis until the relationship between her and Diddy ended in 2018. Diddy expected Cassie to engage in these freak offs even when she was on her cycle or had a painful UTI. Okay. Yeah. Which she contracted often given the frequency of these freak offs. They took place in Los Angeles, Miami, New York, at her residence in Los Angeles and New York, at hotels in New York, Miami, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Ibiza, Turks and Caicos. Escorts were paid between $1,500 and $6,000 cash. All right. So there was Clayton, there was Dave, there was Jules, there was LA Strip, and a Cowboy for Angels escort who flew to Ibiza for a freak off. Okay, so they're talking about the freak offs. And then there was a lot of violence. So, for example, Philip heard Cassie screaming and Diddy slapping her repeatedly. And he said, BITCH, when I tell you to come here, you come now, not later, because he thought he was Ike Turner up in this piece. Okay. After he had stopped beating Cassie, he came out of the bedroom and told Philip to do her. Go do Ventura. But Philip was too disturbed to perform. And in the middle of another freak off, Philip heard did he strike Cassie multiple times in another room? So my question is, why didn't he go in there and help her? Because I would have beat the brakes off of Diddy. Forget about the money. All money ain't good money. I'm just saying. I would have beat the brakes off of him. My soul is strong. My soul is strong, Diddy. It's not gonna get. My soul is strong. Diddy's not gonna get off that easy. He's gonna get out, but not that easy. He's a terrible person. No way he doesn't know anything about Biggie. That's impossible. Yeah, I mean, there's some conspiracy theories going on about that, but we kind of pretty much know at this point what he did. You know, he had to get Biggie out the way because Biggie was gonna leave. You know, you got some people that's like, if I can't have you, nobody can either. So I honestly think that that Diddy has something to do with the reason why Biggie is no longer with us, because Diddy never made so much money than when Biggie was no longer here. I'm just saying. All right, so there's a lot of this. There were threats that he was going to humiliate her and all of these things. I'm going to make this document available to you guys. I will put it on my Patreon, so you guys can read through it more thoroughly, because it just brings back everything that happened at the trial, which was very scattered. It just kind of puts it all into perspective. You know, the fact that he told Cassie that she got to pay him $20,000, okay, and or he was gonna release two Smex tapes, and her parents came up with the money and then he returned it. You know, like what are we doing? So you just playing games over here. And then you had Jane over here with the hotel night. Same thing. She met Diddy in late 2020 and started a relationship with him in early 2021. She should have talked to Cassie about what was really going on. I don't think, you know, I don't think she would have been interested. But anyway, in the first few months of the relationship, Diddy gave Jane money and jewelry, took her on expensive vacations, and lavished her with all the attention, quality time. So he love bombed her. Let me talk about this for 1 second. Let me talk about this for just a second. Just a second, and we'll get back to it. Because I seen something on TikTok. There was a young lady who was basically saying that, you know, she went on a date with this guy, and that, you know, they went out to eat, the date was good and all of that. And then the very next day, he sent her like a basket with some items and like a whole spa package, like facial, get stone massage, the lava rock massage, deep tissue, this really expensive stuff. And she's like, you know, to me, that was a big red flag. Like, why? I just met you. It's only the first date. And after the date, you don't send flowers. You send this, you know, $500-$600 care package for me to go to the spa and just get the full shaboing boing of whatever I want at the spa. Like, what did I even do to deserve that? Like, you don't even know me well enough. And people were going back and forth like, oh, women complain that men are cheap, and then when a man do something for you, it's a red flag. But baby, I'm gonna tell you like this, and I'm gonna tell y'all men, those of y'all that got it, because some of y'all out here are really about it and y'all do know how to treat a woman. Don't give a woman what she don't deserve. Trust me. Do not give a woman what she doesn't deserve. You will make a monster out of her, and she will either expect that all the time, or you will end up in a position where you might inadvertently end up controlling her with the stuff. You cannot buy love. But anyway, let's get back to it. So it just reminded me of that. You know what I'm saying? So this is what he was doing with Jane. Okay. The money, the vacation, all this other stuff. Meanwhile, Jane, girl, what did you do to deserve it? Okay. Because I'm just saying, but you're with a celebrity, and she figured, oh wow, you know, I made it big. I'm with this one, I'm with that one. What's going on, Batgirl? How are you, Queen? How are you? Jerome said, laugh aloud. We heard about the GAY rappers years upon years, and I didn't figure it out until the pause. Exactly. All right. So people listen, people have known for a long time that Diddy wasn't right. So he starts out by love bombing her with the gifts, the lavish vacations, okay, the jewelry. She thinks she done made it big time. I'm with this big time celebrity. Ladies, that ish comes with a cost, an absolute cost. Because once a man does that for you, he feels like he owns you. Okay, so she fell for him quickly. She didn't fall for Diddy. She fell for the stuff. During this time, she talked about some of her prior relationships, and she confided in him about previous abuse. Oh my goodness. I don't know how many times I have to tell y'all ladies, stop telling these men your trauma stories. Okay? Wait until you get married and tell your husband. Okay? Wait until you get married and that's your husband. Then you can tell him about all the trauma and the abuse that you endured. Okay? Because most women who are abused are likely to suffer abuse again and even some more times after that in their lifetime. And part of that is because you run your mouth. Okay? Some things just need to stay buried. Diddy quickly began to introduce elements of hotel nights into their Smex life, including giving her rugs. So I'm telling you about previous years of abuse, and your answer to that is to have orgies, freak offs, hotel nights. Okay. So prior to her relationship with Diddy, Jane had only had ecstasy on 2 prior occasions, but it became a staple of her life. Oh, so now he's giving you these pretty pills to make you feel all lovey-dovey so he can get you to do what the hell he wants. And the crazy part is it be the most beautiful women that are the most insecure. So to her surprise, Diddy set up the first hotel night only after she agreed to it. So, hey, I want to try something different, baby. Let's spice up the relationship a little bit. I want to see you have Smex with another man. Okay, boo. I've never done that before, but yeah, I mean, we could try. All right, cool. So I'm gonna set it up tonight. He got a hotel and an escort from Cowboys for Angels, and the typical hotel room setup with the drinks, the red lights, the baby oil. They forgot it's supposed to be heated, and the stripper heels. Okay. Gotta wear the stripper heels. And at Diddy's direction, Jane and the escort touched each other. They rubbed the oil because he was directing the movie. They performed oral on each other. Okay. They had chorus enter. And all the while, Diddy watched and, had a moment with himself. Okay. He watched and he pleased himself. Like I said, I don't think he was watching the ladies. So Jane is over here thinking that's a one-time thing. Baby, you should have spoke to Cassie Ventura because she would have gave you all the business. She would have told you all the tea. So she only wanted to be with Diddy. She did not want to be with the other men. Okay. But their relationship basically turned into these hotel nights. So 90% of the time she saw Diddy, it was for a hotel night. Okay. So she became the hoe at the hotel night. Okay. That's what happened. That's what happened was. And that's not really what she wanted to do. But she engaged in prolonged foreplay. She performed oral on escorts for hours. Oh God, her neck and her jaw. She and the escort had to have relations. Diddy directed everything. He watched. He pleased himself. He filmed her. Mm-hmm. Oh hell to the no. Okay. He also gave her ecstasy, cocaine, and Molly. Okay, so she didn't know what the hell was going on. This is the man that y'all defending. He knew exactly what the hell he was doing. Come on, y'all are not stupid. Y'all are not slow. These escorts traveled to participate in the hotel nights, and Christina Corum and Ruiz often booked travel for these escorts. This is why he's facing up to 20 years. This is why. So there was Reggie, who came from Las Vegas to Los Angeles for a hotel night. Rico came from Las Vegas to LA for a hotel night. Paul Arthur, oh God, Paul Arthur. I don't know what his stage name was, but I don't think it was Paul. But Paul, he traveled to participate in Los Angeles, Miami, and Turks and Caicos. So apparently they really like Paul. Okay, Paul was doing the damn thing. So here is the text message. Jane tells Diddy, I don't ever want to do another hotel entertainment night with you. I didn't even want to do those things with you on my birthday, but I wanted to make sure we have fun. I feel so cheap once again. And then she tells him again, I didn't want to do all that on my birthday. I don't throw X in your face constantly, but the type of nights we have are nights that require everything out of me for 30, 40 hours straight. Welcome to Cassie's world. I figure on my birthday, you would switch it up for me. No, financial control. So in April of 2023, he began paying her $10,000 a month rent because he told her, I'm going to give you a stipend. So she decides she's going to use the $10,000 stipend for an apartment. Lady, I would have had an apartment. I would have had a car, a nice car. Okay. I would have had some jewelry, some Louis Vuitton, all of that. Okay. Because I know how to ball on a budget. Anyway, almost Immediately thereafter, Diddy began to threaten her and withhold her rent when she pushed back. So again, it's about that control. I'm going to pay for things, big things in your life, like a place to live. And if you don't do what I want you to do, then I'm not going to pay it, and it's going to get kicked out. You made me feel so worried since day one over this place. The threats, the innuendos that you're going to take it away have been nonstop since May. That is mental and emotional abuse. How is it possible if Diddy likes men, it would seem like females would say we did 2 men, 1 girl, and he helped out as the girl? What? This mission is super top secret crazy. Um, Honestly, I think, and I've said it a few times, I'll say it again. I don't think it was Diddy excited about his woman being with another man. Some men like that. I think he was excited about watching the man. That's what I think. Okay. And he over here directing, pose like this, turn her this way, lift up her leg. No, now flip her over. Now put her on the back. Now turn her sideways. Okay. Put your hand around her neck. Cover her mouth. Like, come on, you're doing too much. If you don't shut the hell up and sit down somewhere. So from Jane's perspective, Diddy used the threat of withholding rent as a tool to get her to do things that she did not want to do. Okay. This is why. This is why he's facing all this time. All right. So the next month, hold on a second. So she continues on. I don't want to do this. Even in New York City, I said I didn't want to go because I knew you were pairing me up with a random person, and I was anxious and anxiety filled. And you did still pair me up with some random man, and you emotionally manipulate me for years if you're not happy with certain performances. So the next month, in October 2023, the same thing happened. October 16th, Jane repeatedly told him she didn't want to do a hotel night. I don't want to be screwed and mistreated. Okay, she said effed. I don't want to be effed and mistreated. I don't feel like performing Loveless Code X. I'm not a porn star and I'm not an animal. It's been 3 years of me having to F strangers. I'm tired. Okay, my lady parts hurt. All right, I'm swollen. It's all stretched out. I don't want to do this. My spirit and my soul is tired. I need a break mentally and spiritually. Smex is sacred to me, and I can't be used like this anymore. I just want you. I just want to make you happy, but it's creating a war inside of me. Girl, you should have want to make yourself happy. She said, I need a break. I can't be in another hotel room doing rugs and performing exhausted for days. She said, just me and you, no strangers, please. But that ain't what happened. Diddy made her have Smex with 3 escorts, including Rico, who traveled from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. And between the second and third escort, Jane threw up. Diddy directed her to go back to the hotel and continue with the hotel night. So he wasn't even there? Oh, you got to be kidding me. You have got... Let me just read this. She said, hold on a second. So Diddy promised her that they would not have a hotel night. Let's spend the day. Just me and you. No strangers, please. Okay, this is what she said. She continued to resist, and Diddy told her that he was coming over to her home, for which he paid rent, and he asked her 8 times, are you going to let me in our house? Because he pays for it. This is what happens when you let men pay for everything, and that ain't your husband. Don't give a man husband benefits without a title and a ring. The next day, the defendant and Jane had a hotel night in Los Angeles. For the first time and only time, Jane tried to do the hotel night without any rugs. The defendant made her be with 3 people. She tried to do it without the rugs. Lord have mercy. So this was so then we had the whole lawsuit situation. Jane saw the lawsuit and was overwhelmed by the harrowing resemblance to what she had been experiencing with Diddy. I woke up because I'm nauseous. I've been crying for 3 days and under stress from reading all of this. I keep having nightmares about forced nights, and all the times I felt like I couldn't say no. I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. It makes me sick. How 3 solid pages, word for word, is exactly my experiences and my anguish. God finally woke me up out of this sick cycle and validated me again with all of this. The sick part is you knew this was coming. And you gaslit me and made me feel crazy about the Smex trauma I was developing, knowing you've been here before, and this is just the sick game you do. I feel manipulated. Now tell me that he can be defended. Now tell me that he can be defended. Okay. This is a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch gears, okay, because we're about an hour in, and we only got maybe 15 to 30 minutes more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over now to the impact statements of the witnesses, okay? Because this goes into a whole lot of stuff. How the defendant used his resources to perpetrate his offenses, all the people that he used, because see, Diddy didn't do this by himself, okay? But I guess they didn't have any charges that they could bring and hold against all the other people who were involved, who brought the condoms and the lube and the baby oil, okay, and the lingerie and the stripper shoes. He abused many other people. Okay, maybe I'll do a part 2 on this, and we'll go through it. But I ain't even gonna talk about Gina Hoon. I'm so upset with that young lady. Okay, I'm so upset with that girl. So yeah, we'll come back to this. We'll do a part 2. Let's switch over to Cassie's letter to the judge. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna switch over to Cassie's letter to the judge. And then later on this week, not tomorrow, because tomorrow we're talking about baby mamas, but later on this week, I will do a part 2 and we'll get into some of the other nitty gritty, because what this does in terms of with the prosecution is it puts everything into perspective. It's very hard to defend Diddy when you look at it as a whole, right? Jerome said, bingo. Dear Judge Subterranean, I have been in a cycle of thought and then overthought writing this letter to you. If there is one thing I have learned from this experience is that victims and survivors will never be safe. Although I can hope for justice and accountability, I have come not to trust anything. I hope that your decision considers the truths at hand and that the jury failed to see. For 4 days in May, while 9 months pregnant with my son, I testified in front of a packed courtroom about the most traumatic and horrifying chapter in my life. I testified that from age 19, Sean Combs used violence, threats, substances, and control over my career to trap me in over a decade of abuse. He groomed me into performing repeated SMEX acts with hired male SMEX workers during multi-day freak-offs, which occurred nearly weekly. I was forced into lingerie and heels, told exactly how to look, and plied with rugs and alcohol so he could control me like a puppet. These events were degrading and disgusting, leaving me with infections and illnesses and days of physical and emotional exhaustion before he demanded it all again. SMEX acts became my full-time job, used as the only way to stay in his good graces. I testified that I learned to read Sean Combs' signals, knowing that when he spoke of freak-offs, he was demanding them, and that refusing meant punishment, losing my car, my phone, or worse. Girl, I would have let all that shit go. He controlled every part of my livelihood and threatened to destroy my reputation by leaking SMEX tapes, a threat he repeated often. His power over me eroded my independence and sense of self until I felt I had no choice but to submit. When he believed I had wronged him or was not sufficiently responsive, he also threatened people around me and those close to me, including my family. I regularly worried that displeasing him meant putting my family and friends' safety at risk. So when you wonder why she agreed to do some of this stuff, there you go. I testified how beyond these threats, Sean Combs frequently used violence to get his way. Over nearly 11 years we were together, Sean Combs would hit me, punch me, stomp on my face, pull my hair, throw my body to the ground and against the wall. The jury saw pictures of bruises on my back from Combs kicking me and saw a deep gash over my eye he caused when he slammed me into a bed frame. The entire courtroom watched actual footage of Combs kicking and beating me as I tried to run away from a freak off in 2016. People watched this footage dozens of times. Girl, that video went viral. Seeing my body thrown to the ground, my hands over my head, curled into a fetal position to shield me from the worst blows. This physical violence caused bruises that makeup artists paid for by Sean Combs will cover up, as well as permanent scars all over my body. During my time with Combs, I was in a constant state of hypervigilance, as I was always anticipating demands for SMEX acts and otherwise fearing retribution for any perceived slight. My descent into substance abuse was directly correlated with his increased control over my body, my money, my freedom, and my free will. I used those rugs to push through the horrifying SMEX acts he demanded and to numb myself to the physical pain and emotional turmoil I was constantly in. While the defense attorneys at trial suggested that my time with Combs was akin to a great modern love story, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing about this story is great, modern, or loving. This was a horrific decade of my life, stained by abuse, violence, and forced smacks and degradation. I spent the last 7 years of my life slowly rebuilding myself, physically getting clean from the rug abuse Sean Combs forced and encouraged, and mentally understanding how to live with a seemingly insurmountable level of trauma. The horrors I endured drove me to have thoughts of self-deletion. Ones I almost followed through on, if not for my family's intervention. If not for my family's intervention. And urging that I seek professional care. I have been to rehab and have taken part in dozens of types of therapy modalities to confront, compartmentalize, and cope with the horrific memories of sexual and emotional abuse I endured for nearly 10 years. While what he did to me is always present, I'm slowly learning to live my life free of the fear and horrors I endured, and in doing so, am fully devoted to my husband and my children. I still have nightmares and flashbacks on a regular basis and continue to require psychological care to cope with my past. And we're going to pause right there for a second. Jerome, thank you so much, y'all. Jerome just gifted 5 memberships, y'all. Let me just jump over here real quick so I can see who got gifted and we can welcome the new wisdom ambassadors to the family. Let's go. Let me see where they are at. All right, let's see. Jerome King, thank you so very much. While I pull this up, because I want to go ahead and see who got gifted. All right, I just want to say to you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so very much. All right, so very much. Thank you. All right, let's see who got gifted, y'all. Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? I thought I had this up over here, but maybe not. All right, it's okay. I'll pull it back up. All right, so here is. So Rozzy, you've been gifted Lady Undertaker, Daz and Mika, Queen Black, and What Had Happened. All right, y'all in the bushes, but it's all good. You guys have been gifted by none other than King Jerome. So listen, we be kin now. Thank you so much, Jerome. He said you're a beautiful person. You are a beautiful man. Thank you so much, King. I appreciate you. And may your gift return back to you tenfold. All right, kings and queens, when you become a member over here, we family now, all right? We be kin now. I have claimed you, all right? We can vote. So enjoy your membership, all right? I got all types of shenanigans and foolishness coming in, members. It's coming, I promise you. All right, let's keep going. Thank you, King. I appreciate it so much. So then she finishes off with, I remain very much afraid of what he's capable of and the malice he undoubtedly harbors towards me for having the bravery to tell the truth. His defense attorneys claim he's a changed man and he wants to mentor abusers. I know firsthand what real mentorship means, and this disgusts me. He's not being truthful. I know that she says, I know that who he was to me. I know who he was to me, the manipulator, the aggressor, the abuser, the trafficker, and who he is as a human. He has no interest in changing or becoming better. He will always be the same cool, power-hungry, manipulative man that he is. When I came out with my allegations in my civil case, he flatly denied them again and again. It was only after the actual video footage corroborated my exact words in my civil complaint that he issued an insincere apology over the internet. Thanks to the footage and my testimony, that is also something he will forever be associated with. For over a decade, he made me feel powerless, unimportant, but my experience was real, horrific, and deserves to be considered. While the jury did not seem to understand or believe that I engaged in freak-offs because of the force and coercion the defendant used against me, I know that is the truth, and his sentence should reflect the reality of the evidence and my lived experience as a victim. Reliving in detail the events and truths described throughout the trial and this letter causes me tremendous emotional pain. I'm trying with all that I am to move on. I hope that your sentencing decision reflects the strength it took for victims of Sean Combs to come forward. I hope that your decision considers the many lives that Sean Combs has upended with his abuse and control. I thank you for your time and attention. That's a really powerful letter, Cassie Ventura. Her parents also wrote a letter. I'm just going to summarize this really quickly. They said they're extremely concerned about the sentencing. And they've read many reports online that state that months are being suggested for his punishment as opposed to the many years they think he deserves. Cassie is still dealing with physiological and emotional uh, issues, as well as physical aftermath of the abuse that she endured. They believe that the charges that the defendant is convicted of are not only federal crimes, but that they are also severe violations of human self-worth and freedom. Clearly a vile abuser of power coupled with an immense disregard for human life. To sentence lightly in this case that involves such vicious abuses of our daughter's body, safety, and dignity is to dismiss her very existence. In closing, we, her parents, urge you to deliver a sentence that appropriately reflects the severity and depravity of the abuse, the breach of trust, and the suffering that our daughter has experienced. She says the justice system must be a place where the voices of those who have endured sexual and physical abuse are heard, believed, and honored. And they got the right one. I don't think this judge is going to let him off. I really, really don't. Okay, so this next letter is really, really long. This is from Mia. She's writing on behalf of her younger self, the little girl who once dreamed without fear, who believed the world was full of possibility, who had faith in the goodness of people who trusted her and her hard work. Big heart and integrity could carry her toward a bright and meaningful future. That little girl is gone. She is buried alive by an abuser, trapped in a world of terror, abuse, humiliation, and coercive control. Wow, that's really powerful. Really, really powerful. What's going on? That's what Shackle Shepherd Walker Shame is here. She said, I just dropped by to speak on. I'll be on the right replay. I'm traveling. All right, Queen. Travel safe. All right. She says that the letter's been excruciating to write. She's never had the courage to discuss her abuse publicly. She began working for Diddy in her early 20s after she moved to New York City with only a mattress on her car and a dream in her heart. She was made to believe that it was the opportunity of a lifetime to work for him. She says, I was young and naive. I wanted to make a name for myself. I wanted to change the world for the better through my creativity. My dream was to one day become a writer, producer, and performer. In those early days, I was hopeful and innocent. Sis, you need to write a book, okay, and go ahead and reap your coins. From the start, however, my abuser preyed on that innocence, and what I thought was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity gradually became a never-ending nightmare. I experienced manipulation, humiliation, coercion, and violence. I was groomed, exploited, and broken down. He stripped me of my freedom, my safety, my identity, my instincts, and my autonomy. He alternated rewards and punishments to break down my self-worth and instincts, creating dependency and confusion. This is what I'm talking about. That's not a happenstance, okay? That is someone who is doing what was likely done to them. This kind of behavior is a learned behavior. This is not just something that you just come up with and make up, okay? You are taught how to do these things. He dangled my dreams before me like a carrot, promising opportunity, mentorship, and advancement. He controlled every part of my life. I needed his permission for everything: when I could sleep, when I could eat, when I could use the bathroom, when I could go to my room, and even whether I could buy tampons. He created a life where nothing was mine, and I lived in constant fear because his moods could determine my right to exist. Asking for compensation for my labor, including overtime requests or reimbursement requests for work-related expenses, would lead to him throwing a tantrum, yelling, and sometimes throwing objects in my direction in an effort to humiliate me. He framed my request as stealing and made me ashamed to expect any income at all. Through his financial manipulation, he kept me dependent and trapped. My work for the defendant was not a job, it was captivity. His coercive control and unpredictable violence left lasting physiological scars, anxiety, hypervigilance, disassociation, self-doubt, and an ongoing struggle to reclaim my autonomy. Years of abuse have rewired my brain. Even today, I feel trapped in the mental and emotional patterns that he created. I live with chronic and severe PTSD, depression, and crippling anxiety. I suffer from deeply intrusive thoughts, derealization, panic attacks, night terrors, and insomnia. When I can get a few precious hours of sleep, those hours are often filled with night terrors that wake me up in a breathless sweat, screaming and crying. I awake with my heart pounding, gasping as if I'm still trapped. I have struggled to feel safe in any workplace because of my PTSD, which has resulted in a fragmented professional record, a bankruptcy application, and crippling debt. I can't go to many public places that I once loved, concerts and festivals, clubs, without risk of having a panic attack. I have struggled to set roots in any location and build a community of support for fear that my abuser would find me and ruin my life all over again. I avoid social media. I can't listen to music I once loved. I can't watch many TV shows or movies, all for fear that I might be unexpectedly triggered and have to relive some of the worst moments of my life. All of this trauma was compounded by the impact of my testimony at my abuser's trial. The investigation and pretrial process threw me back into a world I spent years desperately trying to suppress. I had buried so many terrible memories of abuse, including violence and SA, that I was forced to dig up and relive. I cannot overstate the traumatizing impact of reading his threatening emails, reviewing old photos and videos, and hearing his voice again. Every meeting felt like a hammer striking at the fragile foundations of my healing. She's got away with words. The anticipation of testifying was also horrendous. My therapy sessions were spent bracing for the unfathomable moment that I would face him in your courtroom instead of focusing on rebuilding my life and forging a new future. When I tried to imagine walking into a crowded courtroom and facing him, I would black out. For months, I suffered from panic attacks. My tongue swelled, my stomach dropped, my hands went cold, my legs became numb. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. The feeling of dread and terror was so intense, I couldn't hide it. I would randomly burst into uncontrollable childlike sobs. I found myself self-isolating for fear of being a burden on the people I love. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to say I was not okay. I had been conditioned for so many years to believe that my needs were unimportant and that any emotion was forbidden. If I expressed any indication that I was suffering or unwell, I could be in imminent danger. I wanted to jump out of my skin. I felt relentlessly ashamed. There were times when I did not want to live. As a result of the defense's team's tactics during my testimony, and despite my use of a pseudonym, my identity has been publicized. My name is no longer my own. It is forever linked to my abuser's violence. My sweet, loving parents had to read horrible details about the abuse of their daughter, riddling them with anxiety and leading them into unfairly question themselves, as if they could have done something to prevent this. Even everyone I have known and everyone I will meet will now know my darkest moments. Even the children in my life, my sweet niece and nephew, my loving goddaughter and godson, my friends, children who inspired me to tell my truth will one day read the vile details of my abuse. And although the verdict fell short of the justice that I hoped for, the defendant was still found guilty of serious crimes. What he stole from me cannot be returned. It cannot be reduced to years or money. He stole my freedom, my sense of safety, my ability to trust myself and others, my confidence. He stole my dreams of having a stable, healthy family of my own, my career trajectory, and both my creative work product and creative aspirations. He stole 16 years of my life. Time I should have spent developing into the independent woman I was meant to be. My life has been profoundly broken. I am pleading on behalf of my inner child, the sweet, hopeful, bright-eyed girl who could not survive the defendant's abuse, and for the woman I should have become, who was robbed of her future. I am pleading for the brave victims who came forward and countless other victims. This is powerful, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish reading it. She says, the defendant has shattered many lives, and they too deserve justice. They too deserve to live without shame or fear. Victims of sexual, psychological, and violent crimes, especially against women, are often forced to prove themselves while we live in the very trauma that destroyed them. Your Honor, I ask that you do justice through the sentence that you imposed on October 3rd. The defendant's wealth, power, and fame should not place him above the law. These forces have shielded him for too long. I ask you to deliver a sentence that reflects the full measure of harm that he has caused, the years of coercion, financial abuse, humiliation, physical and sexual violence, and the profound trauma that he has inflicted as a result. I ask you to deliver a sentence that takes into account the ongoing danger my abuser poses to me and to others. A sentence that honors the truth, the pain, the lives, and the lives that he has destroyed. A sentence that gives us hope, protection, and justice. Please help us believe that the legal system can offer justice to innocent and vulnerable victims, and that those with power, wealth, and influence cannot destroy lives without consequences. Help us believe in a world where survivors are heard, believed, and protected. Help us to restore the belief that good can prevail. Help us ensure that no one else suffers as we have. Help us believe that justice can and does exist by holding our abuser fully accountable. Please, Your Honor, you have the power to show us the world and the future that our lives, our voices, our truth, and our humanity matter. Please help us with gratitude and respect, Mia. Well, good God Almighty, that was powerful. Capricorn Clark's letter is very short. I'll read that, and then let me see how many more we got. There's one from, oh, this is really long. There's one from Deontay Nash. And then there's a final one that is from Jordan. Jordan Atkinson. Who is that? Oh, she was the personal chef. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, let's read Capricorn Clark's letter since it's short. Dear Judge, I testified in your courtroom in this case in May 2025. As you heard, I worked for Puff from 2004 to 2012. Wow, she worked for him for a long time. Yeah, Jerome, that was deep. That was deep. And thank you. Jerome said you're good. You know what? It was written like spoken word, so I had to read it like spoken word. I mean, literally had to read like spoken word. I mean, this man is horrible. So basically, she says she worked for him from 2004 to 2012. She got to know him well. He fired her in 2012. He blacklisted her from the industry, and she had to take on multiple jobs to garner anything near her work. Today, she's a single mother to a nonverbal autistic boy living in Los Angeles. The ordeal has taken 14 years of her life. Her career trajectory halted at 33 years old. What I lived through working for Puff, and in particular the events of December 2011, altered the course of my life and haunted me for years. I feel that I paid with my life for the events that transpired that fateful day we had to relive in federal court. I never wanted this. For many years, I could not tell my story and lived in fear, for fear of Puff or fear of Puff, or fear of how I would feed my son. About a year and a half ago, HSI Homeland Security investigators, I guess, Homeland Security agents found me and asked me what happened. Those agents changed my life. And I would like to say to the Southern District of New York is the epitome of prestige and professionalism. I was handled with ultimate care. That's good to know. She said testifying was difficult. It's insane to me that all the things that people heard, 2 counts of prostitution of men, is the only thing that remains on the table. I wanted to speak up, tell the truth, and do the right thing when I was asked to testify, but I'm afraid that women and girls in America feel less protected than ever watching what just happened. The lesson seemed to be that we should not speak up, not call law enforcement for help, not say anything, but instead keep our head down and try to make a way regardless of what happens to us. I'm afraid this may be the only realistic way to proceed in the modern world. I hope Puff has a life on the other side of this. I hope life She said, I hope Puff has life on the other side of his time to make good on the changes he knows he has to make, to spend time with his family and get a chance to correct the damage he has recklessly done to so many people who only meant well by him. She said, the last ray of light is that you provide justice to us. You have the chance to finally help him know that he cannot just do what he wants to people. There are repercussions and consequences. He cannot just destroy other people's lives. Karma will come back in 100-fold ways. I would like Sean Combs to serve additional time in a correctional institution. I truly believe that serving more time will save his life, as it will be time away from money, drugs, and power, which is the only punishment he will recognize. Oof, that's another powerful one right there. This person here is someone by the name of Deontay Nash. Mr. Combs' attempt to secure release before his scheduled sentencing hearing demonstrates a troubling lack of accountability and a continued pattern of manipulation. The charges he was convicted of, including violations of the Mann Act, are not minor. They reflect serious, deeply disturbing conduct involving the coercion and transportation of individuals for legal sexual activity. Yet Mr. Combs continues to treat this process as negotiable, as though he is merely managing a legal inconvenience rather than confronting the consequences of his federal crimes. His efforts to preempt the court's process not only show a lack of respect for the justice system, but also a refusal to acknowledge the severity of his crimes. At one point, there was a public indication that Diddy intended to seek professional or mental health treatment. Whether that ever occurred remains unclear. What is clear, however, is that there's been no visible movement toward accountability. Rather than allow the legal process to proceed in good faith, he focused on tactical maneuvers meant to bypass scrutiny, maintain control, soliciting letters of support, crafting PR statements, and attempting to manipulate public sentiment. He did. His plan to escape accountability has been in motion from the very start. And that's exactly what he did. That is exactly what he did. Show is, Jerome, did you get 5 more memberships? Oh my goodness. Hold on a second. Oh my gosh. All right. Kenna 14. That's my girl. She's been gifted. Coco Chanel. That's 70s girl. Sassy Cat and Focus First. You guys have all been gifted by none other than King Jerome Street. All right, brother. Thank you so very, very much. Let me see if I got these sound effects up here. Let me just see if we got it. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you. I really, really do. I appreciate you, King. Look here, if you guys are in the bushes and in the chat, we be kin now. Okay, you guys are official members of Wisdom's Daughter. Enjoy your membership, and please, when you get a chance, when you come up into the live, make sure you give a huge thank you to Jerome, who just gifted you. Okay, King, again, may your gift return back to you tenfold. Much love. So this is another very well written letter. It's from a different perspective, okay? So his plan was to escape accountability from the start. His violence was not limited to private encounters. He orchestrated freak-offs to assault from orchestrated freak-offs to assaults on staff and strangers. Wow. His behavior has left a long trail of victims, many of whom still live in fear. Some of the worst abuse was inflicted on people he claimed to love. This is not the story of one or two isolated incidents. It's the story of hundreds, possibly thousands of people whose lives have been scarred by his unchecked power and brutality. Mr. Combs must also refrain from comparing his crimes to those of others. His conduct stands on its own and has set a new legal and cultural precedent. This is not about relative wrongdoing. It's about individual accountability for a decades-long pattern of abuse. Well, you best to preach, okay? Can I get a preach up in the chat? Y'all best preach. This is a good one because this is not necessarily just Diddy did this to me, he did that to me, but this is literally looking at it at a high level. Psychological impact on victims. His release, which re-traumatized survivors, many of whom remain in hiding for their safety. The court has a duty to uphold justice and protect those speaking out. Because these are the reasons why he's saying that Diddy should serve an appropriate sentence. Influence over potential co-conspirators. Release would allow him to coordinate with uncharged associates to retaliate or construct false narratives. No remorse or accountability. To date, he has shown no genuine remorse, only carefully crafted statements issued under legal pressure. The lack of accountability should weigh heavily against any request for release and public safety concerns. The allegations include violent physical abuse, death threats, and intimidation. His release would endanger survivors and the public at large. His reach was suffocating. He has caused lasting damage to the lives and careers of nearly everyone in his inner circle, past, present, and likely future. Well, ain't that the damn truth, okay? Shine, Biggie, Tupac, all these people we mentioned, okay? I even heard some rumors about how Mary J. Blige got that scar on her face, but we ain't gonna talk about that tonight, because she loved her some Diddy too. But anyway, many more felt coerced. He taunted victims through songs that contradicted the truth, creating false narratives that could never safely be challenged because of fear he instilled. He pursued Cassie through her friends, despite both of us telling him she wanted no contact, and tried to manipulate situations by offering favors if I helped deliver her to him. He has openly declared to his victims that he does not respect or care about the legal system. If he does not respect the court should not extend him any leniency. He says the true change cannot exist without acknowledging the harm that he caused. The same ailments Mr. Combs now claims as an excuse are the very ones he carried with him throughout his years of touring, conducting business, and abusing those around him. They never stopped him from being violent, abusive, or intoxicated when left to his own devices. They should not serve as an excuse now. I do not expect him to be in jail forever, but I am praying for a sentence that allows his victims to heal and encourage Diddy to genuinely change. Didn't I say that earlier? For all these reasons, I respectfully urge the court to deny his request for early release and to deny his 14-month suggestion. He has been fighting the truth for the past year, and this ongoing denial is causing additional harm to the mental well-being of the victims. Survivors deserve safety. The public deserves protection. Justice demands accountability. Judge, this is not a good man. Thank you so much for your time. Your consideration means a great deal to me and the victims. Wow. Okay, so this one is another long one. I'm just gonna read bits and pieces. So this is Jordan Cha Chatan Atkinson. She was the personal chef from summer of 2007 through spring of 2010. For her to stay being a personal chef to this man, and she ain't poisoned him not once. This is a good person because he put this person through a lot. During my time, I can say I was extremely overworked, underpaid, and mentally abused, exploited. And at one point, I was assaulted by Mr. Combs. Not only was I exploited by Sean Combs, I was also exploited by his HR executive staff. Throughout my time, they would constantly manipulate me into silence and staying in my position by saying they would get help to ensure I had days off. I had off days. There was also a time in which he told me to spearhead the creation of Ciroc flavors. I was one of those who chose, sampled, and tweaked the flavors throughout their inception, for which I was never compensated for. The devil is a lie. This was the most toxic and abusive workplace environment I've ever been in. In my entire career, I have been extremely it has been extremely traumatizing to relive all of this. It was hard to live through it the first time around in my mid 20s. Now in my mid 40s, a lot of things I was too young and naive to understand. But the reality of all of it is cemented in my mind now. I spent the past year and a half in constant state or flight mode fight or flight mode, and am currently trying to heal and repair the damage. I was there to witness the start of Sean Combs and Cassie's relationship. This has been an extremely traumatizing time in my life for the past year and a half. Having to unearth the past, okay, said that already. When I started working for Sean Combs, he and Cassie were in the grooming phase. That is what it was in my eyes. She was 19 and he was 36. There were lavish dinners, shopping sprees, etc., all in the guise of creating a new artist. Sean was working her down, like men with money do. I was there in Miami when their working relationship turned romantic. During that weekend, I saw Cassandra provided copious amounts of rugs. I encountered her extremely high out of her mind, and I offered her food to help bring her down. I witnessed Sean cursing his assistant David James out for not having condoms on the yacht. I remember thinking it was crazy and gross. Like, why is he so mad about condoms not being on the yacht? It was never that serious. It stuck out in my mind because that's when I knew this was no longer a working relationship. They both were extremely high the whole weekend and really thereafter. I saw Sean abuse prescription meds, weed, ecstasy throughout those early months. It was heavy rug abuse. I saw him be extremely controlling, and I would say that there was an obsessive nature about them. He would go on rug binges and he wouldn't let any of us sleep, let alone get any breaks. I was working 17 to 21 hours a day, 7 days a week. I worked for almost 2.5 to 3 months straight until I had my first day off. He screamed and cursed at me when he saw me having a casual conversation with Cassie. He said I wasn't supposed to be talking to her if it wasn't about food. He also cursed me out when he saw me speaking to guests at one of his parties. He was watching me from across the room. He then pulled me aside and said I wasn't supposed to be talking to his friends, that he didn't work all these years for me to come and steal his relationships. He would curse me out if I fed people without his permission. He made me feel like I had to look at the floor and not make eye contact with the guests. I say like a pimp does to his women. Before JoJo from Jodeci, dang Mary, she's a soldier though. Um, Ultimately, he said he stood there silent. He stood there silent. He said one day, Diddy observed the groundskeepers making plates for themselves, even though I said they shouldn't, because he hadn't eaten yet himself. Of course, they're making plates. As they're making plates, he comes downstairs. Once he sees this, he immediately starts screaming and cursing about who told them to eat. I stood there silent. I didn't want to get anybody in trouble, and I could tell he was furious. Ultimately, his security told him that Amanda told me that I was supposed to feed them. Sean Combs then called both Amanda and I into the kitchen. He started screaming and cursing at Amanda, saying, "Why is she lying? Why is she telling me to feed her staff?" Ultimately, as he's screaming, he gets up and he throws the water bottle across the room, saying, "I'm the mother effing king, and you are lying to my effing face right now." Amanda was saying she told me only to provide leftovers to her staff. I told her just tell him the truth. Once he threw the water bottle, I got up and called Dia in HR. I used the phone where he couldn't see. I asked Dia what I should do because I thought he might hit Amanda. Soon after this trip, my hair started falling out. I was having anxiety attacks or heart palpitations. I bet. He said he this person, I don't know if this is I think it's a woman. I was diagnosed with stress induced alopecia and extremely extreme anxiety attacks. I was prescribed Zoloft. Throughout this time, I was constantly calling the office asking for help, begging for days off. When you work 7 to 21 hours a day, you never really rest because your body and mind is still racing when you lay down. And by that time, you got to get up for the next day. HR kept stringing me along. So then she says in April of 2008 in Alpine, New Jersey, Diddy physically assaulted. Diddy physically assaulted me. We got into an argument and I quit which enraged him. He kept saying I couldn't effing quit on him. And as I was walking out of the house, he was following me, screaming, cursing, and berating me. Once the door was open, he used all of his might to push me out the door. I went flying in the air and ended up on my elbows and butt. There were 2 steps to get up to the house. So it was a pretty hard fall. I called the police, but hung up. I called HR and told them I was going to sue them. There's just more stuff like this. Hyperventilating. Diddy saying, I will effing end you if you tell anyone. What goes on in my relationship is my effing business. Chef, why are you in my MFing business? Yeah, it's just a lot. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, this person was like letting it all out. So then they say, Sean Combs likes to weaponize fatherhood, his children, and Kim Porter, when in reality, he blank, 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 blank. Where were his kids while he was being a menace to society all those years? Sean Combs is a billionaire, not a street level pimp. He chose to use rugs to coerce women into becoming his own personal smeck slaves. He used those recorded sexual escapades to hold over their heads to keep them in check. He used his staff to get rugs to facilitate to cover up his crimes. He kidnapped Capricorn Clark at Pow Pow Point. He was going to unalive Kid Cudi. These things really happen. It's sick how it's all being minimized. Nothing about what any of us endured was normal. The RICO was there the whole time. Sean Combs got away with it. Instead of being satisfied that he essentially got off, he chooses to let his ego keep driving him. Instead of being thankful, he and his team decided to make a mockery out of all the victims and the judicial system. So he says, it is for all these reasons I believe Sean should get the maximum sentence available. I don't believe he can ever be rehabilitated. He's a master manipulator. I don't think he should be allowed to live in New York City, New Jersey, LA, or Miami. He should have to relocate to the middle of nowhere, far, far away from the places he preyed on and harmed so many people. Not only do I fear for my safety, I fear for all the witnesses that participate in this case. I know Sean Combs to be a very dangerous and spiteful man with a long memory and a panache for payback. Sincerely. Well, that is a stark contrast to the hood booger letters that we heard from Mr. Gutierrez and inmate Hernandez, okay, and all the other Latinos that Diddy coerced and paid off to write letters on his behalf about all the good things that he's doing, because now they know how to set goals and whatnot, okay? Your commentary and reading can make money off of this. You're really good. Thank you, Jerome. I appreciate it, King. All right, well, listen, this is what we're going to do, because I'm looking at the time here. I'm looking at the time over here. And we are running out of time. All right. We're about an hour and 38 minutes in. So what I'm going to do is I will come back with another video where we will go through some more of the main document, because I think some people need to be reminded of exactly what occurred according to the victims and the witnesses. And you guys tell me what you think. We didn't get to do a poll during the live, but I will be putting up another poll on the page, because now that you've heard from Diddy supporters in jail, okay, about how he's changing lives in jail, okay, he done changed 5 lives, but destroyed at least 500. But anyway, now that we've heard those letters and we've heard the impact statements from the victims, which I have to say, they were very well written. I mean, if I was the judge, I would have given him 100 years. Bump that. I'm making new laws. If Trump can do it, I can do it too. But anyway, I want to know what you guys think. Having heard all of this now, do you really think that he's going to walk with 14 months in time served, which means that he will effectively go home? That's what I want to know. So listen, let's keep the conversation going down in the comments. Those of you who are on the replay gang, 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 I appreciate you guys. If you are still here and you did not hit the like button on the way in, make sure you hit that like button on the way out and join me tomorrow evening. Okay. It's Battle of the Baby Mamas. We're going to be critiquing a few baby mama stories and baby daddy stories because this foolishness is for real. Well, we're going to have a real conversation because some of these baby mamas out here for real, out of control. And some of these baby daddies is crazy. And I'm trying to figure out how a man can date a woman with 8 and 9 kids. Okay. We're going to be talking about all of that stuff on tomorrow night. All right. I want to know your thoughts. Okay. Is it okay for a woman to borrow money from her boyfriend to pay for her baby daddy to get out of jail? Is it okay for her to do that, especially if she didn't tell him that's what she's using the money for? We're going to get into all of that and more tomorrow evening. Look out for the notification. It's been real. It's been fun. Y'all, look here. Be safe. Be at peace. And keep your eyes and your ears to these YouTube streets, baby. And in 3 days, we're going to find out Diddy's fate. All right? I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.